Good evening. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster, here with Weather Now Kentucky, and we have an update for you regarding severe weather that's possible for Wednesday. And we'll talk a little bit about when we may see a break from this. The only problem with that is when we do start to see that break, that is when the really hot air begins to kick in. So you got to make a choice there on which one you would like to see. Of course, as you're coming into the broadcast, if you would not mind, tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. You guys have been following long enough. You know how this works. Help us share the broadcast so we can get everyone updated on your news feed. Your friends and family can view it that way. It's the easiest way to help get those things done. So thank you to everyone that's sharing, everyone that's liking, all that good stuff. You guys know how that rolls. We'll give it 90 seconds before we start diving into everything. Allow people that wanted to get in here, get a spot to get in here, so on and so forth. If you're watching this on playback later on, of course you can skip on through. But for those of you folks that are watching live with us, obviously you got to wait here along with me. Make sure you say hello as you come in. It's been a while since we've done a live. I mean, we did one yesterday, but that was a very rushed, very impromptu live broadcast. Make sure you say hello as you come in. Michelle, hello from Brandenburg. Hello, how are you? Angie, good evening to you. Hello from Lawrenceburg. Becky, hello. Jessica, how are you, my friend? Rob and Lucy, Courtney, thank you for sharing the broadcast. Once again, if you are just now hopping in here, again, we're giving it about a minute or so, allowing folks to get in here. Sometimes notifications go out slower or faster, depending upon your connection. So I always try to give it a minute or so before we start really going into everything. Mallard, good evening to you. I'll let you know how that pans out here in just a second. Ashlyn, thank you for sharing the broadcast, and good evening to you. Amy, Sheila, Shelly, thank you for sharing the broadcast as well. Aubrey, hello. Butters, hello. Jana, hello. Over there on YouTube, we are live on both YouTube and Facebook tonight, folks. Back to our normal setup here. Again, yesterday we just kind of went live on Facebook only because that was just a quick impromptu video. Stacy, good evening from Owensboro. Just moved to Salem, Kentucky from Greenville, Tennessee. Well, welcome into Kentucky, my friend. Ethan, hello, how are you? Again, we'll give it about 30 more seconds. If you're just now hopping in here wondering why we're blabbering around, we're giving it 30 seconds to allow folks to get in here and get settled in. DJ, hello from West Virginia. You're always somewhere else, DJ, other than Somerset. Good evening, my friend. Rodney, hello, how are you, my friend? Annis, Mindy, Casey, hello. Matthew, Teresa, Chrissy, thank you for sharing the broadcast. Again, the shares are the number one way to help support us, also to help spread our information out. So thank you to everyone that is sharing the stream and liking the broadcast. I already saw someone mention it. Yes, I did shave my face pretty good there. Needed a reset. Every once in a while, man, I don't see how some of you guys can have these big old long beards because every once in a while I have to have a reset. Lisa, thank you for sending the 100 stars. I appreciate you. Jessica, thank you for sharing the broadcast. Kay says, hey, from Summersville. By the way, yes, again, just to do a real quick intro once more, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We do have an alert day up for tomorrow as the potential for severe weather once again comes into our state. Luckily, it's been a while since we've had an alert day out. It's been a while since we've had a little bit of a break. Of course, it's been raining and storming, but as far as robust severe weather, we've had a bit of a break. Some of that does return tomorrow, unfortunately. So we will break that down. We'll look at the NAM 3K model. We'll look at the forecast from the Storm Prediction Center. And, of course, kind of just talk about where things are and where we're kind of heading here for tomorrow. Timing it out for everybody. There's going to be multiple rounds tomorrow. So timing questions are going to be generally very broad because, again, we have multiple rounds to be concerned with for tomorrow. Okay, I think we've allowed enough time. Let's go ahead and dive into the information. Ashley says, how was your vacation? It's pretty good. Thank you very much, besides Samuel getting sick at the end. Matthew, good evening to you. Thank you very much, man. Tammy, hello. Monty, hello. Sorry, getting the last few hellos out. Amber, thank you for sharing the broadcast from London, Kentucky. Hope you guys are doing okay out there. DJ with the work on Facebook and YouTube. I appreciate you, dude. All right, let's go ahead and pull up our main screen here. See if the camera wants to pull up. Camera's always a little bit delayed there. I had the camera, by the way, before everyone asks. I know I don't have the name on there. That is courtesy of the City of Elizabethtown government, I-65, looking over I-65 there in Elizabethtown, which, by the way, they are still recovering for some rapid flash flooding yesterday. Okay, current radar. It's a bit stormy out in eastern Kentucky. It's been storming out there pretty much all day. I do expect that we may end up eventually seeing some flash flood warnings out here. I mean, it's been raining, pretty much storming all day. And again, if you guys are just now tuning in here, yes, we are going to talk about tomorrow's severe threat, just kind of going over where we're at right now. A couple of lightning strikes out there. We have had a couple of severe warnings today, very borderline severe warnings, if I'm being honest with you. mainly around the London area, and then just north toward Anvil. We've had a couple of severe warnings in those couple of areas, mainly for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts very briefly, and then dialed back down. You can see it was because of this little sucker right here. Just wants to keep bowing out. Where we see these little divots in, those are where your little pockets of better wind gust exist. A little bit of a rogue thunder shower out here. Here's your main kind of line or boundary, if you will, making that backward C, as you can see there, across portions of central and eastern Kentucky as of 7:49 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. That is your current radar. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And we're going to go over here to the outlooks from the WeatherWise radar and kind of show you what the outlook looks like for tomorrow. Here's today's outlook, by the way. Level 1 out of 5 risk does exist for eastern Kentucky for those couple of severe warnings that we saw earlier. Not too shabby when you compare it to what's happening out here in Oklahoma and Kansas. But once again, it's underperforming. This has been a weird area. I know it's not Kentucky per se, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on this. But they've had, I believe 3 or 4 at least enhanced risk, if not moderate risk out there, and each one of them have felt like they've underperformed, but they always end up getting 1 or 2 at night that kind of help it verify. So they probably still have a long night ahead out there. Okay, day 2 here. Here's our categorical outlook for tomorrow. Now, I know a lot of you are going to ask, you have already asked, George, can these colors expand more into Kentucky? And I do think so. I think by the time we wake up tomorrow, because the update comes out around 2 a.m., tomorrow morning. So by the time we wake up tomorrow and I make the post, I feel like most of Kentucky will probably be in that yellow or slight or level 2 out of 5 risk. Basically from around Berea. If I were to draw a line, I'm going to pull out the drawing tool from WeatherWise here. Again, if I were to draw kind of a line, I'm going to use purple just so it stands out a little bit more. I feel like this area, making like a kind of a bow out here. It's not going to be perfect, so don't. Again, you kind of see the wiggles in the line. I'm a human being, okay? It's not going to be perfect. But I feel like this area is probably going to be included in that yellow 2 out of 5 risk. Again, and then I think this area right here, you're probably going to see that orange or that 3 out of 5 risk probably pushed over a little bit more into western Kentucky. Not a whole lot, but a little bit more over into western Kentucky. You guys know my rule of thumb, though. The colors don't really matter. It's the threat that matters, okay? But I know some of you guys really love to see the colors. So once again, that's where my thoughts are. We'll see what the SPC does. Again, at this point, for example, we saw a tornado warning in western Kentucky yesterday, and they were in a 0 out of 5 risk, as well as all of Kentucky yesterday. So again, colors don't matter as much as people think. It's just something pretty for everyone to look at. So again, don't pay too much attention to which zones you're in. Obviously, if you're in the higher zones, obviously pay a bit more attention. But if you're in a lower zone, what I mean is like don't disregard, weather threats. Okay, that is your current SPC outlook from the categorical standpoint. Here is the tornado outlook, pretty much a 2% in green there, pretty much that yellow zone to orange zone, a 2% risk for tornadoes tomorrow. Tornadoes are not going to be your main highlight tomorrow, folks. The wind is going to be your main highlight tomorrow. This is where I feel like things might get shoved over a little bit because all the data that I'm looking at is pointing towards a line of storms. And again, I'll show you this on the model data as well. So I'll show you firsthand here in just a moment. But all the data that I'm looking at, folks, is making a line come through here at some point in tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, starting in western Kentucky, pushing through to central and eastern Kentucky. And along that line, very robust 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, some about quarter-sized hail involved with that line. And yes, a few brief spin-ups are possible, but the wind, the widespread, the width of the wind, I guess is the way that I want to describe that. How widespread it is, I think that is the reason you're going to probably see this red zone scooted over a little bit more into Kentucky. Because again, the risk for 60 to 70 mile per hour winds along that entire line looks pretty possible when you're talking about some of the metrics that we look at. As far as pushing this over in eastern Kentucky, I don't see that really happening too much. Eastern Kentucky, you're going to be the lowest zone no matter how this forecast changes tomorrow morning. Because by the time these storms get toward around the I-75 corridor over here toward eastern Kentucky, they begin to die down pretty rapidly. All right. Let's go ahead and look at, I did forget to show you the hail outlook. The hail outlook to me is very low, and the SPC also agrees. It's like a 5% here in brown. So once again, very, very low hail threat tomorrow. May see some brief warnings for quarter-sized hail, but other than that, not too much. Okay, so on the models here, what we're going to look at is the NAM 3K model. And yes, I will get to some of your questions here in just a moment. Don't worry, I'm just kind of going through my big spiel here because a lot of you are going to have your questions answered while I'm going through the big spiel, okay? But I do see your all's questions coming through. So usually we look at the HRRR model, but in a situation for storms like these, I think the NAM 3K model typically handles them a little bit better. Also, it's been a bit more consistent on its idea, whereas the HRRR model, if you guys don't know, the HRRR model is the model that you pretty much look at when you get to very close range. But I think it's bouncing all over the place. It's not very consistent, and honestly, some of the ideas that it has doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Whereas this model is handling it, I think, a little bit better. Okay, so there is potential for some morning time storms tomorrow. Time frames up here in your top left. You can see this is Wednesday, valid for 5 a.m. Central Times, which would be 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Some small thunder showers possible out there, pretty much along I-65 to points east. Rain, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube. I appreciate you. Enjoy the no ads experience. And then, again, by lunchtime, we might see a few more showers popping through out in eastern Kentucky. Again, this is about the time frame where models start to have different ideas. So we're like 24 hours, not even 24 hours out, 18 hours out really, from around 2 p.m. tomorrow. And models are not agreeing. Once more, it's nothing new here. But I like the NAM3K's idea a little bit better here. It does start with some what I like to call popcorn cells. Basically, just cells popping up along I-65 to points west there. May congeal into a brief line to the south, a little bit of a brief line to the north, and this can carry a severe risk. They're a little bit more isolated. The thing with this line of storms is it's going to arrive before the actual main wave of energy gets coming through, the 850 millibar, all that nerdy. I'm going to save you from all the nerdy stuff because I can't stand people going into all that. So I know you guys probably can't stand when people go into all that. It makes me want to fall asleep. But I'm going to save you from all that stuff, okay? Basically, this arrives before the actual main pool of energy to me when it comes to wind shear and all those good things. So the severe levels with this line of storms probably a bit more limited. Again, we'll probably see some really heavy thunder showers, a lot like what we saw today out there in eastern Kentucky, except it's not going to be in eastern Kentucky tomorrow, it's going to be in central Kentucky. So pretty much the same thing as we saw today. Lots of thunder showers, a few severe warnings for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, maybe some small hail involved with these. But again, I don't think that's the line to really worry about. It's just later kind of evening. And again, the time frame up here is 11 p.m. Central Time, midnight Eastern Time. That line gets firing out there in western Kentucky around 7 to 8. Gets over to central Kentucky along the Ohio River, making that kind of line right there, closer to midnight. And so the time frame might wiggle a little bit. Right now we have our time frame, I believe, if I could pull it up. I may have accidentally unsaved it to make room. Yeah, I did. Great. I believe we have our current time frame from like 2 p.m. to midnight. And so the time frame is really, really out there, folks. Again, this could start a few hours earlier, would not surprise me. It could start a few hours later, it would not surprise me. Okay, the time frame's kind of up in the air. All right, what I kind of want you just to look at for right now is how this is forming into a line along the Ohio River there and kind of pushing its way to the east-southeast. And it eventually dies by the time it gets to Somerset, London, Mount Olivet, over here toward eastern Kentucky. Again, just kind of dies and fizzles out. So again, it just kind of shows you that the main areas is definitely going to be central and western Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky, you finally get a little bit of a break from the robust severe weather you've been having, the severe warnings the last few days. But again, kind of getting a break there. But again, just kind of look at the shape of this line. So we have this kind of backward slash here, if you will, or very, very, very slanted slash here. And this almost always indicates that damaging winds are going to be along this line. You can kind of see that the model's trying to even pick up on a few little bows that are happening along that line as well. So again, everything screams to me tomorrow that this is a wind bag. What I like to call a wind bag. Basically, a line of storms, maybe even two lines of storms, again, from the afternoon and the late night that you're seeing now. Again, most of those are going to carry just damaging winds with them. But everything is so saturated. That's the big fear that I have personally is that it's been raining almost everywhere in Kentucky, off and on for the better part of last week. Everything is so extremely saturated. It's not going to take super crazy wind gust out there to knock a couple trees over, take some limbs down. Those can fall on power lines. You kind of see the domino effect from situations like that. So that's probably my biggest concern for tomorrow. Is brief damaging winds that may lead toward, power lines maybe falling down if trees fall on them, trees falling on vehicles, on homes, so on and so forth. So again, that's probably my biggest concern for tomorrow if you were to ask me. Tornado risk is definitely there, especially out there in western Kentucky. I think that's probably where the best, unfortunately, it's just kind of how it always works out there in western Kentucky. That's probably where the best tornado risk is because that's where the line starts. And before it becomes an actual line, they will start as cells, and then those cells will spread and grow and eventually connect with each other and create a line. But before they do that, they will carry a tornado risk with them. But again, to me, the tornado risk is probably 3 to 4% tomorrow. Very low, very low. I could see a couple of tornado warnings, but mainly going to be severe warnings for 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. So again, not a crazy event set up for tomorrow. Hopefully, one of the last. Again, usually by the time we head into June to July, our weather starts to calm down. That has not been the case so far. But again, that's kind of what we're looking at for tomorrow. Again, time frames are kind of all over the place because I could see this line starting earlier than what the models are projecting. By the way, here is the HRRR model to kind of show you its idea. We look at the NAM3K, very similar to the morning time frame. But the difference is, when it comes to the HRRR model, that wave that we saw in central Kentucky on the NAM3K model that we just looked at around 4 to 5 p.m., it actually has that all the way up into Indiana, going toward Ohio and northern Kentucky. A couple stronger cells along the I-64 corridor, and a line of damaging winds up here, maybe even rotating cells up here as well. And then it kind of makes another line, and then kind of another pop-up of cells. This doesn't make sense to me, is basically what I'm saying. Eventually, with a situation like this, we almost always see these turn into lines of storms. This kind of makes several different little lines throughout the day in the same area over and over again. I can't rule it out because we do have so much precipitable water out there. It may keep it all in the same place, but again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It has a couple of cells diving from the south to the north real quickly as this is traveling from the west to the east. I think, and it looks so much different than its earlier run. Here's the earlier run, by the way, from the HRRR model from this afternoon. See, it looks completely different. Nothing, 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 nothing. Here's the morning time frame. Actually starts all the way out here in central Kentucky. Has a lot of robust thunder showers by around lunchtime on Wednesday. And then by the afternoon time, has those cells sparking up. Now this, by the way, this is an older run. This came from late this morning. Doesn't this look a whole lot like what we saw on the NAM3K model as of the new run from the NAM3K? So again, here's a new run from the NAM3K. Some pop-up storms, central and eastern Kentucky. Pop-up line around midnight or so. The only difference between this one and the old HRRR model is that this one, as you can see, has a line coming through around midnight. If I go back to the HRRR and show you the older run from that, even though they look the same, kind of skip this on ahead there, the time frame is a lot different. See the time frame being 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So for those of you asking about time frames, again, you kind of see for yourself firsthand here, it can start anywhere between 6 to 9 p.m. on that main line, that back line there. By the way, this HRRR model does show another line coming through around 2 to 3 a.m. Wouldn't be as robust, but still shows another line coming through, sweeping across all of Kentucky. So there's several rounds of storms. I think the only time that can really give you that's for sure going to be dry or at least less active for tomorrow is probably going to be right before sunrise, again, at 4 to 7 a.m. Okay, for West Kentucky, you'll get a lot of kind of no activity time for tomorrow. And then maybe, early afternoon for a lot of folks. You get a nice little break there. Those are really the only times that I can give you that are like, okay, there's really probably going to be less activity. Other than that, it's possible that waves of storms come through over and over and over again. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to get to some of your questions here in just a moment, give a brief little recap. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors here. If you would not mind, they're the reason we could be here for you guys 24/7. So hopefully you hear them out and maybe consider supporting them because they support us. At Right Implement, you can shop at any of their 15 locations and know that you're supporting a proud Kentucky business. I highly suggest you check out their Facebook page where you can find all of their insane promos. I'm actually going to put the link to their page in the chats. If you would not mind giving them a follow on Facebook, they have so many deals going on right now, I can't even post them all because Facebook will just shut me down. But again, so many deals going on right now. And Right Implement's one of the best companies I think that's out there. But again, the link is in the chat if you want to go follow their page and check out all the deals that they have. Once Upon a Child and Plato's Closet of Elizabethtown are conveniently located next door to each other. So you can shop deals on hot clothes for all ages. And this one's really close to home here because Brianna and Samuel and I enjoy getting new threads from their locations without having to bust our wallet. We shop at Once Upon a Child all the time for him. The people that own these locations are genuinely good people too. We always want to shout out those kinds of folks. I hope we run into you while we're shopping there next time. We actually have run into a couple of folks while we've been shopping there. If you're in or a surrounding county, I gotta fix that of Hartland County. We've had a lot of impactful weather here. From wintry storms to severe winds and everything in between, I couldn't stress to you more that you need your roof checked. When it comes to something as serious as that, we cannot recommend hyper roofing enough. That, I mean, like I said, we even retain them when roofing concerns arise. So I actually had them come out and check our roof a month ago. They told me it was good to go, so I believe them. Um, they only use the highest quality of GRF material that's backed by a very exclusive warranty that not many other companies have. Your roof is what stands between you and the storms. Make sure you help your roof fight a little bit better with hyper roofing. The link will scroll to hyper roofing in the chat and look at that timing there. The chat bot has already got it out there. Visit FBIbuildings.com for any pole barn repairs or renovations. They also perform more jobs than just that. Did you know that they're new to Kentucky? But they aren't new to delivering better Business Bureau satisfactory level of jobs. They've been doing it for over 50 years, and farmers are the pillar of our existence. Give yourself a peace of mind knowing the buildings that hold. You guys know I'm not good at this stuff. They know. Thankfully, they know this too. And knowing the buildings that hold those pillars are safe and meet the bar of your expectations. I could really go on and on about FBI buildings because I've watched so many of their videos and their engineers are incredible. I'm going off script here, but they really are. They really are incredible. Just make sure you go to FBIbuildings.com. Again, that link is going to be in the chat too. I'm going to go ahead and put that down here. And again, these sponsors are what allow us to be here for you guys 24/7. So I really hope you guys consider supporting them truly. And last but not least, probably one that's closest to home here. Finally, Max Land and Landscaping in Vine Grove wants you to know they're here. We actually hired them recently. We really did. I meant to post the photos, but I haven't done it just yet. Again, going off script here. We actually hired them recently to remove some damaged trees and flip our front of house landscaping. And I was amazed by how affordable they made it while doing an outstanding job. And they were so quick about it too. But maybe you want to do it yourself. I just didn't have the time to do it myself. You can actually visit their storefront in Vine Grove and purchase materials at a reasonable price and keep the funds local. Goodness gracious. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We appreciate them so much for allowing us to be here for you guys 24/7. Again, I hope you guys consider supporting them. I'll get to a few of your questions now. Alicia, thank you for your 99 stars. I appreciate that. And again, just a quick shout out to all of our sponsors. Thank you guys very much. It's been a weird month for us, and we appreciate them just being so patient. You know, most sponsors would, we haven't been live in like 3 weeks. Most sponsors would be so mad about that, but they've been so gracious and understanding. So thank you to them. Again, they're really, really great companies. Steve says he's watching from Bowling Green. Don says hello from Loretto. Rain says, what's up, chat? The colors let me have some sense of control in this crazy world. I understand, Yodel. I understand. Jana, thank you very much. Gubby, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't see a whole lot of questions, which to me is a first. It means we actually probably did a good job of breaking things down for you guys, hopefully. So I'm going to give it about a minute or so. If there are no questions, we'll wrap up the broadcast and get the forecast out for you for tomorrow. Once again, posted to our page. If you are just now tuning in here by chance, once again, I want to remind you this video will be available for playback on YouTube and Facebook. You can watch it at any time that you would like. Jessica says hello from Knox County. Watch from Georgetown, Kentucky, Gail says. Greg says hello from Glasgow. Tracy's from above Georgetown. Rachel, hello from Radcliffe. Hi, Rachel. Watch from Eulenburg County, Magnolia. I love seeing where all of you guys are from. You know, the good thing about taking the vacation that we did, a couple of weeks ago, is that we got to drive through most of central and eastern Kentucky, and I actually got to put a lot of towns that we usually just see on maps to actually to memory. And it helped me a lot to understand where everything is. And just want to say there are so many small towns in Kentucky, man. I drove through something called Nancy, Kentucky, never knew it was even there. There are so many small towns in our state. Look at the skyline coming through from the camera. Again, from courtesy of the city of Elizabethtown government, overlooking I-65 there. Look at that. Look at that skyline there. Ain't that something? On such a storm, what's been such a stormy pattern, and you can see how even though it's not storming right now, look how wet everything is in Elizabethtown. But look at that skyline coming through there. That is beautiful. How much rain are we thinking for the event? Let's go ahead and look at that real quickly. Answer your question. So just looking real quickly at the HRRR models to kind of give a real quick look here. We're looking at an additional 1 to 3 inches for a lot of folks, which is again going to probably prompt a lot of flash flood warnings. I can't imagine that flash flood guidance is too lenient right now. I would imagine it's very, very low. or very high, whichever way you look at that. So I imagine we're probably going to see quite the number of flash flood warnings tomorrow as well. What time is Bowling Green expected severe weather? Again, the only time frames I can give that probably aren't going to have stormy weather tomorrow is around sunrise and then around lunchtime. Again, I think we're looking at several different waves for tomorrow, so that makes timing a bit tricky. Again, if I were you guys, I would just prepare for several rounds of thunderstorms tomorrow. Destiny, this line for tomorrow will be strong for western and central Kentucky and should weaken by the time it gets towards eastern Kentucky. Tabitha, hello, my friend. How are you? Kelly, I got you. Thank you very much. Tornado threats around 3% tomorrow. Again, I don't think the tornado threat is the primary focus. The damaging wind threat's likely the primary focus. But we could see a couple of spin-up tornadoes tomorrow. If we do see a tornado tomorrow, folks, I do think it's of the weaker variety. Again, I know it doesn't help a whole lot of folks sleep better at night. But again, if we do see a tornado anywhere in Kentucky tomorrow, it'll likely be of the weaker variety. The damaging wind threat, it to me, again, is the primary threat. And that's usually, by the way, the case during summertime storms. It's actually quite rare for us to have a tornado outbreak or several tornadoes in the middle in summer. It's really rare for us. How did the little one enjoy the beach? He tried eating all the sand that he could see in sight, and all the seashells. So we only went once with him. Brandon and I went several times. But we only allowed him to actually on the beach one time because it was not we were not prepared for that. So we're getting what's in Kansas right now, a variation of it, not quite the same thing, Okay, let's go ahead and wrap that up because we have some new data coming in here very soon. I don't want to stay on here too long with you guys. Of course, tomorrow we'll be live, probably around lunchtime with an update on what to expect, and then when the actual system gets here, if it calls for it, of course, we will be live with you guys for wall-to-wall coverage again if it actually calls for it. Okay. What's kind of what? Huh? Oh, that's weird, Thomas. Again, main time frame for stores tomorrow for like the peak window, guys, is probably going to be around sunset to late evening, going into the late night. That's probably your peak window for those of you asking about that. Outside of that, I really can't get more specific just because, again, we might see several waves of thunderstorms tomorrow. So that throws timing pretty much all out. All I can tell you is, like, again, from like lunchtime to late night, probably prepare for several rounds of thunderstorms. All right, that's going to do it for us here. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. Again, I'll make a post here later on tonight and be live with you tomorrow to update you on what to expect. And of course, we'll have live coverage if the event calls for it. Until next time, stay safe, friends.